My name is Miles, and this is the Make with Miles channel, and today we're going to see if I can make some perfectly round bowls using a track saw or a circular saw. Let's go.
The first thing I had to do was make some bowl blanks, and I thought it would be cool to make them out of plywood so that you could see the different layers as the bowl takes shape. I wanted to add a little bit more visual intrigue to these bowls, so I decided to add some dyed birch veneers in between the layers of plywood. I was inspired to try this technique by my friend Michael Alm, who has used this in his pattern plywood projects. I spread a thin layer of glue onto the surface of the veneer as well as the surface of the plywood, and I let it dry so that I could later iron the two together. Unfortunately, I got caught by some classic Oregon weather, and the rain left these little bumps on the drying glue, which made me a little bit worried. Luckily, they didn't seem to affect the lamination at all, and I was able to iron on the veneer successfully. This was a pretty new technique to me, and I was quite surprised at how well it worked. Now that all the black veneer was attached, I was able to start gluing up the blanks. After unclamping the bowl blanks, I realized that the surface of the vertical blank was super uneven. I thought the best option would be just to run it through the planer and take light passes. The time had now come to start making the bowl shape itself. I started by drawing lines that ran through the center point of the blank. Next, I carefully lined up the track saw on one of the lines and did a plunge cut. I quickly realized that this was kind of sketchy not having the blank held in place or clamped down, so I screwed some plywood offcuts to my workbench to hold it in place. Now I could have done this with a circular saw and just plunged it down very carefully, but since I have access to a track saw, that's what I'm going to be using because I think it's a lot safer. Obviously, if you're going to try something like this, do it at your own risk and don't do anything you aren't comfortable with. My idea was to use the radius of the blade to make the profile of the bowl itself, and hopefully this would result in a near perfect bowl shape. For this bowl, I was able to remove most of the material with just a chisel, but as you can see here, I accidentally made one of the cuts when the saw wasn't completely centered. Because I'm using plywood here, I couldn't use a traditional gouge to remove the remaining material, so instead I used my Arbortech mini carver to carve down to the bottom of each plunge cut. Big thank you to Arbortech for sending me out some of their tools to use on my projects. This mini carver has quickly become one of my favorite tools to use. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Because of my previous mistake, I decided to make this bowl a more organic and natural shape. After getting it to a shape that I was happy with, it was time to give this another shot on the second plank. This time I paid close attention to making sure the saw was completely centered so I didn't make the same mistake again. This time it worked pretty well and I achieved a near perfect radius just by carving down to the bottom of the plunge cuts. This is the Arbortech contour sander, which I can attach to my angle grinder, and it allows me to sand curved surfaces. I started off with an 80 grit disc and I sanded up to 220. At this point, something about the bowl just looked unfinished to me. So I went over to the table saw and cut the sides at an angle, which I think added nicely to the overall aesthetic. I set that bowl aside and I turned my attention back towards the organic shaped bowl because I still thought it had some potential. Since this bowl had already deviated far from my initial plan, I thought why not mix it up even more, so I drew a natural curved profile for the outside and brought it over to the bandsaw. Next, I drew a similar organic shape on the bottom and started tapering the sides with the mini carver. After sanding the outside smooth, the time had finally come to apply some finish to the bowls. I ended up applying a few more coats of wipe-on poly, and with that, this build was complete.
Before I show you the final shots of the video, I wanted to let you know that both of these bowls are up on my Etsy, so if you want to snag one, there's a link in the description. Also, if you're interested in a Make with Miles t-shirt, there's a link in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button, and if you want to see more of my videos, make sure you're subscribed. Check out this video if you want to see how I built a guitar out of plywood, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.